Hello. Today I'll be speaking about the Hosa funeral rites and death practices. Thanks, Brian, for reaching out to collaborate with me. And also, I'd like to thank my friend Siahuro Misa Asin, a dear friend from South Africa, for helping me put this information together. It's much appreciated. We'll get right into it. I don't have a whole lot of time to speak, but death practices are very separated by gender in Hosa culture. Hosa culture is the same, it's a subset of the Zulu tribe, and it's the same clan that Nelson Mandela belonged to. But we'll get right into it. They're separated by gender. Death practices are separated by gender. And this is a traditional aspect. It's not particularly a spiritual or religious aspect. Women tend to have a lot to do with funerals and death practices. The society is governed by patriarchs or chieftains, but the women are illustrate their grief a little bit more. A lot of this depends on on a calling also. If they were called to be a healer, then people are buried with certain items, almost like the Egyptian royalty or pharaohs, where they're buried with beads or ceremonial clothing. In that way, typically the grieving period is for about a year, but that's also determined by governing bodies of the clan. Men tend to have a whole lot less to do. As far as I know, they are only required to change out the bedding and give it to a family member. Also, what I think is interesting is that the family member gets to wear the clothing of the deceased. It's considered an honor. And like some of the other cultures that we see, and I think someone else is doing Madagascar, they also believe in a turning of the bones. They wash the interment tools with beer, with a type of beer. This might be for sanitation purposes. But they also slaughter an animal. And so while they're turning the body or interring the body rather, and turning it physically, they also tend to, they're turning the intentions of themselves as the grieving in honor of the deceased. So when they say turning of the bones or turning of the dead, it's physical, of course, but it's also kind of intentional and more of an act of aligning their intentions with the deceased and honoring them in that way. And a side note, different tribes have expressed a concern about COVID-19, and the government is requiring them to wrap the bodies in plastic. Well, this particular clan is saying that the deceased have come to them in dreams, saying that they can't breathe, which is pretty interesting, seeing as how their body is deceased. But I thought that was an interesting facet of this. Certainly it's changed. COVID-19's changed a lot of this. But anyway, that's a super short presentation. Thank you for this time. I appreciate it.